Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Tammy Rap Studio. We're starting our live stream as we usually do on Fridays. I'm going to paint a human figure, and today's materials that I'm going to use are watercolor and Arteza acrylic markers. I have them right here. So this will be a mixed media exercise, and hopefully it turns out well. And thank you for watching. I'm going to start with a light pencil outline. You might not be able to see it very well, but it will take me just a couple of seconds so I can figure out my composition and in general what I'm doing here. So let's get started. And I picked the model with blonde hair. It can be sometimes a little challenging to paint with watercolor, especially very light tones. So I want to figure out good color combination for light hair. I know I can see it's some sort of combination of lemon yellow and maybe some ochre, but I also want to make it, you know, not exactly realistic but very colorful and painterly. To add to the challenge, she's wearing a white robe. I took those reference photos. I was going to paint them with acrylics, so white would have been easier for acrylics but not as easy for watercolor, but we'll see what we can do here. I want to show her the hand somewhere here. This is probably too high. Okay, and that's good for the outline. Now let's start painting. First thing I'm going to do, I'm going to find my spray bottle. Here it is, and I'm going to wet my paper very lightly so I get a little more even color absorption on the paper. And I'm going to have a big brush. And let's see, let's start with hair. With watercolor we usually start with light tones. Don't remember if I sprayed my colors, but I painted with them recently, so they should still be moist. So like I said, I'm thinking lemon yellow for the highlights on the hair. And here is three-dimensional object, just like the face and the figure, so it will have darker areas and lighter areas and shadow and core shadow. So we need to find all those when we sketch. And actually I don't want to use ochre. I think I'm going to use some ultramarine violet and just throw that on for shadow. That works pretty well for shadowed portions, but on this side I see that the shadows, this brush is too big now. Let me get a smaller brush. But I also see that she has some kind of warmer, like light orange highlights on her hair, so I'm going to add that as well. And I need to plan, I want to use my markers as well, so I need to plan accordingly. Kind of a note to self. And if that, so that the purple doesn't look too out of place, we can neutralize it, mitigate it a little bit with orange. They're not complementaries, but they're opposite, you know, far away on the color wheel to mitigate each other. And her face has pretty rosy tone. I think I'm going to use Crimson Lake, maybe with some yellow for the face. And I think with the face, the most important thing is to find the highlights, because when you cover everything with paint, it just becomes flat. And I'm using water pretty sparingly because I want to work with markers and I don't want my sketch to be too wet. And I think purple shadow for the face will be good too. Just the I'm painting the big shadows. Will be cast shadow from the hair, and there will be some warm kind of glow on this side of the face. And I can drop some color for her lips. And there is more deeper shadow on this side from the nose. We can already deepen it. I've hinted the eye. And that shadow goes under the nose and across and down here. Okay, and there is a warm shadow on the neck. Can't get too fussy all right away, because then you will have no unity in your sketch. So you need to find big shapes first and not worry about details right from the start. Now I painted that mouth and now I just don't like it, and I don't think it's even in the right place. So I'm gonna wipe it off. Okay, she's going to be with no mouth for now. I'll let that dry, and I'm just gonna do something with the robe. I think the same ultramarine violet will be good. It might be too intense, but you can always pick some off. And I don't want her robe to be detailed at all, so it's going to be pretty loose painting. Ultramarine blue for the back. And even if you don't really see all those different colors, you know, think in the cool family and throw them on there. It will always look better than using the same color everywhere. But I see that this is warm. And I think I need to smooth this out a little bit. And I see a bit of yellow on this side, maybe like greenish tone. And just indicate something here that she has a skirt. And to bring everything out, I obviously need to do some sort of a darker wash for the background. So that's what I'm going to do. I just need to decide the photo has purple. Yeah, I guess we'll keep it in the same family. I'm going to use mineral violet. And I'm going to cool it off with my ultramarine blue. I like that combination. And we're going to, and it looks pretty intense right now, but you will see that when I start adding line work, it will look totally different. And this is a sharp edge, and I need to do some detail work on the back there. Maybe a bit of dry brushing just for design. Go over the top. It's always tricky how to make the figure work on the page. You know, you really have to think about it and design something, because we usually take photos if it's staged, you know, you will have a piece of fabric or something, but it's just sometimes not very interesting, so you have to come up with something yourself to lead the eye of the viewer where you need it to go and to make it composition work. And I think I'll leave it kind of vignette like this. Let me drop a little purple here as well, just for interest. But I do need to paint her hands, so let me do that real quick. I have some paint here I can pick up. Again, not detail, just a hint. Use whatever I have here. Go a little bit lighter on this hand, fingers. Okay, and I think this is good. I feel like this needs to be pushed back a little bit. Let's add some neutral here. I'll mix it with light orange, and we can drop some of that orange color, and that will push purple into to the back. Maybe on this side as well, just a few strokes. Even this out. Okay, and I see that, I guess hair looks good. I need to work on this edge. I'm gonna pick up some purple. I didn't want to do it with a giant brush, so I just want to run some kind of background through her hair to show that it's, you know, separate hairs and the back is showing through. And there is much darker shadow here, which I can add now that my first wash is starting to dry. Much darker here. Maybe a few shadows here. At the part, I need to leave the part light. Soften this. And when color runs like that, I think it looks really good, because that's what watercolor is about. It's about kind of colors running freely and overlapping and all that. So I'm not going to clean this or anything like that. Okay, give a little more body to the hair here. Okay, and with the face, I guess I can deepen this shadow under the chin. And behind the nose. No, she's so fair, so I don't want to give her like black eyebrows, it will look weird. Let's try to just hint at the mouth. That's what it's going to be. It's a little wider. And I want to paint this shadow on her face. It's very warm and pretty deep shadow. It gives her a nice glow. Okay, and maybe a few more brush strokes for the arms and hands. You want to keep the level of development of your sketch the same. You don't want like the face, unless that's your idea to have the face more developed than everything else, but it can very quickly start looking pretty odd. So keep the level of development of your sketch the same throughout, and if something is your focal point, then give it a little more attention, but it needs to be deliberate and thought out. I'm just going to deepen a few shadows on her shirt. Just to give it, movement and direction. Everything is important in the painting. Wait, sorry. My breakfast this morning, I'm dropping my brush. Okay, deepen this. Now it has more movement. And I think we can start moving on to our line work. I want this to take forever, so we're gonna move on to the line work. Here are my markers. Let's see what we're going to use. I like to have my selection at hand, so I don't need to ruffle through them, when I'm drawing. I really like this color. It's called turtle green, but you will see how good it works on fair skin and hair. Okay, I think that's plenty. I can barely hold them anymore. Okay, I'm going to start with just with markers. You have to kind of open them. Sometimes those tips are a little deceiving. Okay, I like this cool brown. I'm going to start with that. They're water soluble, so they kind of, to a certain extent, they kind of start to run if you paint with them on wet surface. But if the surface is very wet, they're not gonna work. I'm kind of adding them to my watercolor wash. I think our lips need to be brighter. I always end up holding too much stuff in my hands, but that's the way it works for me. Okay, there's a deeper shadow here by the eye, and we're gonna drop a little purple line here under the chin. I like the softness, so I don't want to overdo it with like deep lines and really sharp shadows. So I'm going to try to keep it soft. That's my artistic intention for this piece. And there's a deep shadow here, so I'm gonna add. And the reason I'm using markers and things like that they give you a lot more control than watercolor, because there's, you know, have a fine tip and you can actually control the lines, so much easier to use. I could paint this with watercolor, but it will take a long time because I will have to do gradual washes and let everything dry. Okay, her mouth is slightly open, so I'm gonna do shadow here. Okay, I feel I need to do something with the shirt. Use this blue to give it a little more definition, and I think just line work adds a lot of interest. And I have this purple. We can clarify this side. Maybe around some over here. And I like to balance things, so I have purple on the bottom, so I want some purple on top. You can mix those markers the same way you mix watercolor, you know. Okay, and maybe brighten her up with some orange. She has pretty deep shadows on the hair. I think that looks better. Spread it out up here. Deepen this with the marker. And we think about shadows as cool, but actually if you add warm shadows on the human face, it comes to life. It looks more alive. Okay, and now we need to find some orange highlights here. To your hands. Maybe some let's try some pink. I don't know if that will show, but we'll try it. Yeah, it works pretty good. Don't want everything to be orange. Some pink here. The neck and on the arm. Okay, I don't like how this is very symmetrical. Let's see if we can fix it with some, oops, watercolor. Jumping brushes today. Try to brighten this a little bit and run this over. I just want to unify the two sides. And I do see some kind of greenish shadows there. Give the bottom a little more weight. And I think if I maybe try deepening the background. Cool it off a little bit with blue. I want to give my sketch some movement. So I'm going to deepen this. And I'm going to deepen this. The shadow on her sleeve. I'm exaggerating it, but I think it works better. For my composition. Okay, and the important thing is to know when to stop, which I have trouble with usually. Alrighty, and we're done. I'm gonna sign the stitch and I will post it later on social media, so make sure you connect with Tamarab Studio on Instagram, Facebook. I'm on Pinterest, Twitter, so it will be easy to find me. And that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching. Our next live stream will be on Tuesday at 9 o'clock US Central Time, and I hope to see you then, and have fun this weekend. I'll see you later. Bye bye.